How's it going? This is Shane from GotRom.com and I'm here with Charles and we're going to do a video about hip mobility for the older athlete. Why this is so important is because if you play basketball or frisbee like Charles here, but your hips are getting tighter from a lifetime of sitting, then that stress goes to your knees and your back because your hips aren't moving as well as they could. So we're going to do a test and then a couple quick stretches for you. So I'm going to have Charles lay on his back, your feet down here and your head up there. What you need to do at home is find someone who can do this test for you. So we're going to test his internal rotation, which is not much, Jazzy, or external rotation. Okay, he's got that. You need about 45 degrees. So if he's totally relaxed here and I move him into external rotation, that's about 45 degrees. That's what we want. Internal rotation, this is neutral. He's at about 5 degrees or less, and we want him out at about 35 degrees. So why this matters is because his hip is a ball and socket joint, should have 360 degrees motion of freedom, and if he's missing one of those key ranges, when he goes to squat or change direction or something, his hips can't move, he can't be in deep positions kind of moving from his hips, and he's going to move from his back or his knee. And have you ever had any kind of knee pain or back pain?
Sure.
Yeah, a little bit. So if you've had knee pain or back pain, check your hips, see if you're missing some of this range of motion. The next test is hip flexion with a bent knee, and he's stopping at about 90 degrees here. We would want him to come a little bit farther, or with a straight leg. I'm gonna pin his knee down with my knee and see how far up he can go until his hamstrings stop me. So right now, if we turn sideways actually, let's turn your body this way. Yep. So you can see what we're talking about here. So go ahead and bend the knee here, relax this. I start to feel his pelvis wanting to get dragged along if I go farther. So this is about the end of his end range. And then with a straight leg, that's about the end of his end range. We want him to be 90 degrees or more. So the last test is hip extension. So I'm going to have Charles come and do a quad stretch against this couch, like so. He's going to put his shin up against the couch and come up in this position and then bring his hip forward. So go ahead and give that a shot. We're testing flexion, extension, internal and external rotation. Okay? So a couple things. Kind of come down a little bit. He should feel the stretch here in his quads. If you feel it down by your knee, it means you need to soften your knee up. But we're actually going to make this a little bit more of a true test. So I'm going to have Charles come back down to this position. Try to get your shin all the way against the couch. And then do that stretch. Shin all the way against the couch, knee way back there. And then can you bring this foot up? You might not even be able to get this foot up. So what that tells us is Charles is very, very tight in his quads. So what do you do about that? The first thing you can do is foam rolling. So Charles is going to demonstrate facing your head down there. How do you soften up those tight quads so you can actually do that stretch so that you can actually get your hip behind you when you're running or lunging? So if you have a foam roller, you're just going to roll up and down like this. You're going to soften up all of those dense, stiff quads. You can get 2 legs at a time, or if you wanted to, you could kind of bias one leg, bringing this leg up to the side. Now he's just working on his right quad. You would want to spend at least 2 minutes here, if not longer, and then retest that quad stretch. When you're ready for something a little bit more advanced, this is the trigger point QUADBALLER. Give that a shot and see how that feels different. I recently just had Charles graduate to this. I'm home for the holidays, and I had him graduate past the foam roller to the QUADBALLER. He was telling me that it's more intense, but more effective. So that's what we're going for. And the reason is because it's a little bit contoured or curved, and it has a little grip to it, so it can kind of get into those quad muscles a little bit better. So you want to work from the hip down to the knee, and like I said, 2 minutes plus. So after you've done that, we would work on your hip extension with the quad stretch. But also, we also want to work on that hip rotation. So I said we tested his internal rotation, his external rotation. So let's stretch both of those. Internal rotation, he's going to come into this seated position, bring his knee to the ground, put his foot on top. So let's try that out. Knee to the ground, or knee up here. Let's start with knee to the ground and then foot on top. And then you kind of change your chest position, your body position. The goal is to find a deep stretch somewhere deep in here. Some people will need to change their foot position, maybe bring their knee off the ground and then come into the stretch, although be very careful you don't feel any stress on the knee. So this is a hip internal rotation stretch. Once you feel something kind of deep in here, you just breathe, relax. Or you can tense all of your muscles up, contract them, hold it, hold your breath, and then relax. Wiggle around slowly, finding a good stretch. So that's a hip internal rotation stretch, which you need for squatting, cutting, all that kind of stuff. And then to get our hip external rotation, he's going to put his back on the ground, his feet up on the couch. This is a really good glute stretch here. So he's getting very close to the couch, feet here. Go ahead and mimic me.
Okay.
And then he's going to bridge his hips up, cross his feet like this, and pull his ankle down a little bit. And then we'll start with two positions. One, block the knee out with your elbow, and slowly drop your hip. Keep your foot cocked up towards your knee here, like this. Yep, and then drop your hips down. This is hip external rotation. This foot position is so important with the toes cocked up towards his knee and even everted with the foot out towards this knee. It stabilizes the knee so you don't overstress the knee when you're doing this external rotation stretch. So he's breathing and relaxing here. The next position, he's going to very subtly bring his hips up just a little bit. Slide this down and across, just a little bit, not too far. You still want about this part of your ankle pinned against this thigh. Then hug the knee towards your chest, then drop your hips down. There we go. And that's a whole different type of stretch. You should feel this anywhere in the glutes. Breathing and relaxing or contracting and relaxing. So we've worked on Charles's hip extension. We worked on his hip internal and external rotation. And the last thing to get is his hip flexion, the hamstrings, which are important for deadlifting, squatting, all those things. So we'll have you stay right here, but scoot back this way just a tad. If you had a partner, you would keep one leg straight, put that leg straight if you can. Maybe scoot that way just a little bit more.
Okay.
This leg straight down on the ground. You could have a partner stretch like this, which is very helpful. But if you don't have a partner, what can you do? You can get a rope or a belt or a band and do your own hamstring stretch there. Breathing, relaxing, slowly over time, trying to move this up in this direction. This is going to prevent a lot of back injuries because most people are missing a lot of hamstring posterior chain range of motion, and they don't move from the hamstrings. They can't bend over with a flat back. They end up rounding their back in deadlifts and things like that in the gym and blowing their back out. So we really need posterior chain hamstring range of motion. So he's breathing and relaxing. He can also play tug of war against himself where he's pulling, but he's also pushing his foot against himself, resisting and then relaxing. You want to coordinate with that with your breath. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to take a deep breath, hold it, build tension, play tug of war, pulling this way, pushing this way, tension, tension, and then relaxing and taking up the slack if you can. So coordinate it with your breath. Work on your hip flexion, your hip extension, internal and external rotation. Know that there's many other things that you can do to do tissue work, massage the muscles that are tight. That'll make the stretching more effective. But this is just a quick test and a quick routine that you can do at home, so give it a shot.